Okay, all right. So for this extra day today, we are going to talk about what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about briefly, just going over what we've learned so far, and I'm going to show you just a couple of examples that we were trying to do at the end of class yesterday, but we couldn't. So I want to show you that so you can watch this uninterrupted, and then afterwards we're going to come back in class and practice. Okay? All right. So let's go. Okay, all right. So let's start. Let's start from the beginning, but we're gonna have to do this quickly because I want to spend the majority of the day practicing. Okay. So now let's take it all the way back in time. The very first concept, right? Which was slope, right? How do you find slope? Delta y over delta x, right? And then afterwards, I introduced to you the concept of a y-intercept, right? What's the y-intercept? Is the point with which a line crosses the y-intercept, literally, right? The y-axis, right? So in our case, this point would be the y-intercept. And how does that lead about to the next part? Well, now we have the first thing, which is the slope intercept form, which is represented by y equals to m, right? Slope x plus b, which is the y-intercept, right? Hence slope intercept form. So we got that going for us. Now, after that, I start posing some more challenging questions. And the questions were something like, well, if I gave you a point and the slope, could you find the equation for me? Okay. Afterwards, right? The next point was that I gave you a point and asked you to find the slope. Now, how did you do that? Right? You use the slope intercept form again, right? The trusty slope intercept form where you just substitute it. So what I'm trying to say then is that the I it's not the actual doing of the questions that's presenting an issue for many of you. It's the idea that you have to speak this very fluent language between slope intercept and point slope form. And fluent means this, right? When people say, well, you speak fluent Spanish, right? It's something like you can go back and forth between different languages. All right, at least that's what I think, right? So going from English to Spanish or from Spanish back to English, so on and so forth, right? You're very fluent. So one of the things that I want to help you with getting better is speaking this language fluently. Going from slope intercept to point slope backwards. If I present to you 2 points, right? Would you be able to tell me what the equation is, right? Same thing, okay? If I give you a graph, would you be able to give me the equation? Same thing. If I give you a table, right? Remember that? The table thing, right? Would you be able to give me the equation? Same thing. They're all asking you for the same thing. And I think what threw you guys off as of yesterday is that now I'm introducing a form that seems to be out of nowhere, which is the standard form. Now, the point slope form and the slope intercept form all rely on this very basic idea, is that on one side you got y and on the other side you got x, right? And the other things, they're just numbers, right? Because slope's a number and so is the y-intercept, right? And the thing that I think threw you guys off is that with standard form, the arrangement is a little bit different, right? So in the standard form, x and y is on the same side, right? The only thing that you have to add in, right, is the letters A, B, and C, which, by the way, are just numbers, okay? And I think that's where you guys were stuck, right? Now, very quickly, why do we use a standard form? Because we want to graph it, right? So hence comes the ideas about the x-intercept and the y-intercept, right? So to get a y-intercept, x has to be 0, and to get the x-intercept, y has to be 0, and then you substitute, right? The other thing that helps you with this is that it helps you graph, right? Because once you know what the x and y intercepts are, it makes graphing super duper easy. And what's the other purpose? Is to help you turn standard form into slope-intercept form and vice versa. Okay, so that's the summary of what everything we've done in this unit up to today. So what I want to do then is show you 3 examples, and then we're gonna come back to class and practice. Okay, how are we doing on time? Yeah, it's all right. We can do 3 examples. So quickly, looking at number 1, right? The standard form is 10x minus 7y equals 8. So I want to know what's the slope-intercept form. Now, I already know what the slope-intercept form should even remotely look like, right? Y equals mx plus b. So let's take it here. So we got 10x minus 7y equals to negative 8, right? Subtract. So I want y on one side. So we're solving a literal equation, right? So let's see then. We're going to subtract 10x on both sides. So that cancels out. I'm left with negative 7y. Rewrite. Negative 10x minus 8. Divide both sides by negative 7. Right? And I have y equals to 10 over 7x. Now, negative divided by negative is a positive. Okay, and that's it. That's the form. Okay? Now, what's the other thing that I could ask you about? Well, I could also ask you, hey, what's the x-intercept and what's the y-intercept? Right? Meaning, with x-intercept, the y is 0. So you see where this used to be? Now I'm going to put a 0 in there. All right, let's see. So that's 10x equals to negative 8. So it's going to be a fraction. Okay, negative 8 over 10 or negative 4/5. You can see I'm going kind of fast here because I don't want the folks to understand this, to feel like I'm going too slow. So y-intercept, all right, so where y-intercept is, x is 0. Again, we're going to practice this more in class today. So, I just want to give you an overview of everything we've done so far. So this is 8 over 7. Okay? So that's the y-intercept, right? Now, I'm going to skip 2 because I want to go to number 3. Look, now we're going the opposite. I want slope-intercept into standard form. So let's do that. All right, so what's the standard form, right? So by the way, I think it's a good idea for you to always rewrite the form first, so that you just know, okay, right, I'm looking for this, and here's what this looks like now. So how do I turn this into this, right? Now, so for this, I want all the letters on one side. I want x and y on the same side. So all I have to do here is plus 7x on both sides. So that's just 7x plus y equals to negative 6. And voila, that's it. Job done. Okay? All right. So that's that. All right. So come back to class and we'll do some practice. Okay? All right. See you there.
OMG, that was so good.